We're going to just go through these preferences in alphabetical order, which is the way they're listed in the preferences. And we'll start out with accounting, which is an excellent one because it's a very important preference. Accounting only has company preferences, so anything that's changed here will be changed for the entire company, and it has to be changed by the administrator. And the first option on here is use account numbers. What this means is if you want to have account numbers assigned on the chart of accounts, then you click on this option to use account numbers. Now you can put account numbers on the chart of accounts and turn that on, and if I do that, if I click on use account numbers and click on OK, if I go into create an account in the chart of accounts, first of all, there are account numbers there. There aren't account numbers on every one, and the reason for that is because if I went through the Easy Step interview and created accounts using their standard chart of accounts, it assigned account numbers to those. However, if I added some other accounts in there later on, for example, my Visa 1994 credit card account, then QuickBooks does not automatically add an account number on. When I went to set that up, since I had account numbers turned off, when I go in to create that, and let's just go look and edit it, when I went in to create that account, it did not have this number field on it. And when we looked at those before, it didn't have a number field on it. And this is the account number that you want to assign. But now I can put an account number on here. For example, I put in 20505. So I go ahead and click on Save and Close, and now 20505 is in there. There's good news and bad news about account numbers. The good news about account numbers is that if you have an account number, you can access that account by either using the account number or by using the account name. So the quick fill that we'll talk about when you bring that information out automatically come up by typing in either the number or the name. That's the good news. The bad news is when I go in and create a report, I go into the Report Center, for example, and go into Company and Financial, and then click on Standard, Profit and Loss. Notice that I have these account numbers on here. That can be confusing to some people sometimes. So what do? You can just go into Preferences and turn those account numbers back off. You go into Edit and Preferences, and then go into Accounting and Company Preferences and turn the Use Account Numbers off. And what that means is, now when I go into those reports, the Company and Financial Report, they no longer have account numbers on there. The accountants like those account numbers because it's easier to access accounts by using account numbers, and they can assign account numbers to accounts for all of their clients. On the other hand, account names will be set up by their clients automatically, and so they'll have clients that have different account names. It can be very confusing. They say, I give up. I'm not going to tell you what account name to use, but I will tell you what account number to use so that all of their clients have the same account number. What some people do is they turn on account numbers when they're entering transactions, and then they turn off account numbers when they are printing up reports. Or some of you might want to turn on account numbers when your accountant's coming over and turn off account numbers when your accountant leaves. It's just a matter of preference. It doesn't change the way the accounting is done. All that preference really does is turn on and off the display of the account numbers. We're going to leave account numbers off for most of this training because you don't know my account numbers, and it's easier to talk about accounts than just talk about account numbers. You can use the assigned chart of account numbers from QuickBooks, or you can put in whatever numbers you want in just by going in and editing those numbers on the chart of accounts. It's totally up to you and your accountant. Next, we have require accounts. This is an option I would recommend that everybody turns on. What that means is it makes it so that whenever you enter a transaction, if there's an option for putting in accounts in the chart of accounts, it will require you to do that. If you don't, what happens is QuickBooks will assign those accounts for you. And that sounds great. However, QuickBooks is not very good at assigning accounts. What they will do is if they assign accounts for you, they will put into one of two accounts, either uncategorized income or uncategorized expense. And you don't want to do that. So you should click on Require Accounts, have that check mark on. Next, let's talk about Use Class Tracking. This is how you turn class tracking on, and we'll talk about that later. It's just a matter of turning that on and off, and we'll talk about that preference later. Automatically assign general journal entry number. This makes it so it will automatically, when you go into make a general journal entry, it will automatically give you a general journal entry number. It'll just give it the next number from the previous one. That can be a helpful option for those of you that are doing a lot of general journal entries, but most accountants will just assign a different general journal entry other than just a number. They put something else in there also. Warn when posting a transaction to retained earnings. This is not a bad idea to have that turned on. If you're entering something into retained earnings, it's a pretty good idea to have QuickBooks say, hey, are you sure you want to put something into retained earnings? Because most entries into retained earnings are put in there automatically at the end of the year. A new option in version 2007 and higher is warn if transactions are 90 days in the past, or warn if transactions are 30 days in the future. You can put in whatever number you want in here, and what this does, it says, hey, if you're entering a transaction that is too old or too far in the future, you just want the system to warn you and say, hey, are you sure you want this date? And then it has closing date, the date through which books are closed. And this is we'll talk about this later on, but this is where you set the closing date, and this has to do with users, and the reason there's no closing date set on here is because there's no administrator that's been set up on this company yet.